Let me extend warm welcome to all the scholars and scientists who have gathered here to participate in the discussions and deliberations of this very significant seminar on Agnihotra. As we know, Vedas and allied Vedic literature, makes a mention of Panch Mahayajnas, five great yajnas to be performed by every human being daily. And Agnihotra is one of the five great yajnas, those Panch Mahabhutas, to be performed by human being. So this seminar is specifically dedicated to the spiritual and scientific dimensions of Agnihotra, and I'm happy to inform that very distinguished scientists Professor Selvamurthy and scholars like Dr. Ulrich Berg, they have given their consent to participate or to present their experiences, research is done on Agnihotra. So I welcome all uh, the learned speakers and the scholars in the audience who have gathered here to make this seminar a grand success. So today we have three distinguished speakers. First one is Dr. Ulrich Berg, he is from Germany, and second one is Professor William Silvamurthy. He was the distinguished scientist, government of India, and he worked on many places on government positions, and he was very close to uh, the former president of India, Abdul Kalam Azad, and he became the R&D chief after him. And the third speaker is Professor Ganesh Thite, Umakant Thite, a Sanskrit professor from Pune. So all these three scholars, I welcome them. Now, uh, instead of taking more time, we would like to hear these scholars, and I invite Alois Heinrich from Germany to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Ulrich Berg. Alois Heinrich from Germany.
Dhanyawad, Raviji, for this opportunity. I will talk a few sentences in German and then in English. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, Freunde des Wissens und des Friedens, ich freue mich heute Dr. Berg zu begrüßen, welcher bei uns in Deutschland sehr bekannt ist, gerade auch durch den Meilenstein, welcher er durch sein Lebenswerk geschaffen hat und seine Familie nun weiterführt und so den Menschen im Westen ermöglicht wird, nach innen zu schauen. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of knowledge and peace, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Ulrich Berg. Ulrich Berg, born in 1949 in Germany, did study of philosophy of science, logic and mathematics in Munich and Erlangen. He obtained a master's degree in 1974 from the University in Erlangen, Nuremberg, philosophy of science in sociology, and a Doctor of Philosophy in 1976, University Erlangen, Nuremberg, Logic, Mathematics and Psychology. He was appointed as an assistant professor in Konstanz University, teaching logic and methodology of science to students of different faculties. Since 1980, he is coordinating research on homotherapy in Eastern Europe countries like Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Yugoslavia, and many more. And since a couple of years, also in India. He published a book on bringing homo-organic farming into the mainstream of Indian agricultural system and many other scientific publications. So, fire is the element which connects the immaterial and material world. It is a gateway and draws our attention inwards. With that, it is possible that Viveka cultivates. Where Viveka is, Vairagya, Satchampat, the six qualities, and Mumukshutva will follow, which ultimately will lead to knowledge. That knowledge leads us to the conclusion that the peace we are searching we already are. Like in the Patanjali Vibhuti Pada, verse 26, it is said, Bhuvanadhyanam Surye Samyamat. So, through the sun, the mysteries of the creation are unfolded for the yogi. Like a flower, the knowledge opens itself up and shines in its own beauty. Agnihotra is in connection to the sun. So I would like to give the word to Dr. Burke and unreveal the mysteries of Agnihotra and this creation. Thank you.
Okay, first, thank you, Alois Heinrich, for the nice introduction and for the few words in German. First, I want to thank you for the invitation and for organizing this very wonderful series of lectures. The thank goes to Professor Ravi Prakash Arya. Thanks to the university in which this everything is organized, means the Maharishi Dayanand University in Rohtak in Haryana. One main mission of Swami Dayanand Saraswati, whose name the university bears, was to bring people back to Vedic lifestyle and to remove all kinds of superstition. And according to him, daily yajna was necessary to remove the pollution we humans create. Now, this mission seems more important even because the situation of this planet has deteriorated so much. Our atmosphere, our soils, and our water resources are much contaminated, and even the present pandemic is related to this overall pollution. If humankind wants to survive on this planet, we have to do all efforts to overcome pollution. And we have to make use of every method which can help. So we also go back to Vedic knowledge. But in order to make this Vedic knowledge acceptable to modern people, we relate this traditional wisdom with modern science. And what is the relation between Vedic science and modern science? We treat Vedic statements as hypotheses in terms of modern science, which then will be tested. But before this testing can be done, we have to try to understand Vedic statements in terms of modern science. And this is more than just a translation, because some of the terms used in Vedic texts do not have a corresponding word in modern scientific language, like prana or subtle energies. So we have to see and try to understand. In some cases also, we have to wait till modern science is developed a little bit more. My presentation will talk on Agnihotra first, then the effects in agriculture and the effects on our mind, and then trying to understand how this method works, what are the underlying mechanisms, and at the end I will give some suggestions for further research. But before I start, one clarification is important. The term Agnihotra is used for some yajna, a Vedic fire practice, related to sunrise and sunset. Some people even use this term wider for all kinds of Vedic fire practices, but normally, mostly Agnihotra is a fire practice which is related to sunrise and sunset. Still, there are many different forms of Agnihotra. The most elaborate form is the Trit Agni, where you perform Agnihotra in 3 kundas. The embers keep the fire all day, so you don't have to rekindle to restart the fire. And at dawn and at dusk, certain mantras are recited and different offerings given to the fire. This Trit Agni is very powerful, but it's difficult to perform. So only a couple of 100 families in India are now keeping this fire at home. You need your own cow, you need your own room for that, and you can't leave it. You can't do it one day and not do it the next day. You have to continue. So it's difficult, but it's great. Also in Arya Samaj, Agnihotra is prescribed as daily duty, but there is also a different form. The different forms of Agnihotra are different regarding the timings. You know, some say, okay, somehow close to sunrise and sunset means like at dawn and at dusk. And some are specific. The time has to be exact for the correct coordinate and even exact to the second. Then also there's a difference in the materials used, the mantras, and so on. But in science, we have to be exact. So when we make statements about the effect of some method, we have to specify which methods we are referring to. If we can establish that one method has certain effects, other methods which look similar and maybe even known under the same name may or may not have the same effect. Therefore, it is important to always make it clear of which methods we are talking in order to avoid confusion. So this is what I want to do. When I talk about Agnihotra, I refer to a fire performed in a copper pyramid of fixed size and shape, used dry pure cow dung, pure cow's ghee. That's important, by the way, especially in India. Often farmers have both cows and buffaloes, so the dung is not separated. So it's sometimes difficult to get pure cow dung and especially pure cow's ghee, but that's important. For Agnihotra, then we need some grains of less polished and uncooked rice, unbroken pieces, 2 simple mantras in the morning, 2 in the evening, and following timings of sunrise and sunset exact to the second. No Havan Samakri to be used. And Professor William Silvermurti has described that same type of Agnihotra, so I can keep it short. He also mentioned about exact timing, and the time varies from place to place. So even in one city, definitely in a big city like Delhi or Bombay, there's a big difference of 1 or 2 minutes if you go from west to the east of the village city. But now it's very easy. You have this app called Agnihotra Buddy. It's available both for Android phones and for iPhones. It's for free, and it gives you the exact time for the place where you are. So it's very easy, and every day you get the exact timing. Earlier it was difficult. Now the question, why exact sunrise, sunset? So there's a description of sunrise in traditional knowledge saying that at sunrise, many fires, electricities, ethers, and more subtle energies come all the way from the sun to the place on the earth where the sun appears to rise. And this flood of energies has a subtle music in it. And the quintessential sound of that music is the mantras which we do in the morning. So this explains why we do the mantras. And as Professor Silvermurti had said, if instead of the mantras we utter some other words, it won't work. So it has to be these mantras. But as we get these energies from the sun, there's a resonance effect if we utter these mantras. So interesting, one American astrophysicist, he showed that at the time of sunrise, he says, million ampere currents head in towards the earth, and at sunset, they going out again. So modern astrophysics confirms this traditional knowledge about what happens at sunrise. So these two time periods are very important, sunrise and sunset. So, how it is done, it was shown before. The mantras were also uttered already, so no need. What happens we perform Agnihotra? A channel is created through all the atmosphere. Prana energy, which lies above the atmosphere, comes down through this channel, and from the pyramid an aura energy field around all plants is created, and these plants get nutrition, they get disease resistant, they get stronger. And when the energy, when the flame dies, all this energy is coming back and is kept in the Agnihotra ash. This is why the ash is so powerful as medicine, as nutrients for so many applications. Now, what are the benefits? Basically, you can say all nature comes back to harmony. And environment is purified, atmosphere, soil, water resources, also biodiversity get restored, food security can be maintained, and human health improves, both physical and mental. Some examples for reduction of environmental pollution. Environmental pollution is not bad for human health. It kills thousands and thousands of people, actually millions of people every year, but also plants suffer from it. So we have to also, in agriculture, we have to reduce this pollution. And with Agnihotra Homa methods, we can produce enough food. Not as many people think if you go organic, you will have less. No, you can have even more. So first, the effects on the environment. That is very obvious. These petri dishes were opened at the left side before Agnihotra and then sent for incubation, and then at the right side, these petri dishes were opened after Agnihotra. So you see within just, I think it was 10 minutes after Agnihotra, there was a big reduction in the bacterial count. That was similar experiment were done several times. Also, Professor Selvamuthi showed one result in different places, different universities. So that's well established, also published in different papers. Now that is biological contamination of the air through microbes. But what about chemical pollution and physical pollution? Physical pollution is mainly particulate matter, and that's a big problem now. This photo shows an experiment we did at Ujjain, Vikram University in Ujjain, Madhya Pradesh. We performed Agnihotra, and you see in the back a high volume air sampler. So we measured the particulate matter before Agnihotra, during Agnihotra, after Agnihotra. Some similar measurement was done at North Maharashtra University in Jalgaon. And you see SOX, NOx go up a little bit during Agnihotra, and then they come down by 30–40%. Same with particulate matter. That experiment also has done repeatedly in different places. One possible explanation of why Agnihotra reduces particulate matter, because that is not very obvious from the beginning. Because you see, you perform Agnihotra and there's some smoke. And smoke is particulate matter. And still you perform Agnihotra, and then after that, particulate matter gets reduced. One possible explanation is that negative ions, which are created when you do Agnihotra, they attract all kinds of particles, and then these particles settle down. So now, because that seems to be a very important aspect of Agnihotra, the negative ions created, some scientists from Germany is starting his PhD work. So after 1–2 years, we will know all the details about how Agnihotra produces negative ions and what these negative ions do with particulate matter, also with bacteria and other microbes in the air, because also they have an effect on these. Now let's look at water resources. This is one experiment done at Pune by Dr. Girish Patade and Pranay Abang. And the result was also shown in a slide of Professor Selvamurthy. They took raw water, contaminated water from a river in Pune, very much contaminated. And then they poured this water through a column of Agnihotra ash, which was in a cylinder, glass cylinder. And there was an improvement in all the different parameters. Especially interesting is the bacterial count, which goes down by 93% to 98%, depending on the method how you measure it. So from very bad water, very contaminated water, you got drinking water quality. So Agnihotra ash definitely helps to purify water. But even larger water bodies are improving if you perform Agnihotra next to it and you add Agnihotra ash regular to the water. This was an example at the Narmada River at Maheshwar in Madhya Pradesh, not far away from Indore. There's a homotherapy Goshala, and here you see there were research stations. Two were upstream of this homotherapy Goshala, and no, three were upstream, and one was downstream. And you see all in all the parameters, the homotherapy Goshala parameters, they were best. pH 7.5. In other stations, 8 or more. And most important is the coliform count. It was 100 ml in the homotherapy place, close to the homotherapy place, and 500 to 700 ml in the other research stations. Means if you perform Homa, Agnihotra, and some other Homa fires regularly at some place, then even a large water body like the Narmada River gets improved. So that is one method how we can also purify our rivers. And in India, that's a big problem. I mean, there's there are projects about the Ganga, the Yamuna, all these rivers, to purify them. If we would have Homa places along the shore of these rivers, then definitely that would help. Now, an effect of Agnihotra on a bore well, that was in Australia, and the farmers found water, which was lucky enough, but it was highly alkaline and highly saline. So with just performing Agnihotra and adding Agnihotra ash regularly to the water, within 6 months, the pH came down from 9.5 to 7.2, and salinity from 1150 to 720 parts per million, means that is within the range of World Health Organization for drinking water. So basically, that has helped to save their farm. Effects on the soil. Soil is very important. Without this thin layer of soil, 30 centimeters or whatever, humans or all nature could not survive. So that's very important. And soil quality, soil health is deteriorating at a very fast speed. So we have to rejuvenate the soil from the level of viruses, bacteria, fungi, algae, and so on. And that is done with the help of Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash. Just one example. Phosphorus, we know that phosphorus is essential for plants. And normally farmers just add this rock phosphate or whatever to the plants. But phosphorus is normally available. It is present in the soil, but not available for plants because it's not water soluble. So this experiment showed that if you add Agnihotra ash to the soil, the percentage of water soluble phosphorus increases by 3 or 4 times. And then the question was, this experiment was done in US more than 30 years ago. Then a couple of years ago in Germany, this experiment was replicated and gave the same result. And then the question is, okay, how come that the phosphorus is getting more water soluble if you add Agnihotra ash? And the hypothesis was that there are bacteria which make the phosphorus water soluble, and maybe these bacteria are increased if you add Agnihotra ash. And that experiment was experimentally checked, and the hypothesis was confirmed. Some experiments showed that if you add Agnihotra 1% of Agnihotra ash to the soil, nitrogen fixing bacteria increased 100 times, and phosphorus solubilizing bacteria increased even 1,000 times. So that shows you add Agnihotra ash and you don't need these fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphorus, and so on. At the same time, harmful fungi were controlled. And that was also independently examined in one ICAR institute in Lucknow by Dr. Ram. And, there was no growth in these pathogenic fungi if you added Agnihotra ash. On the other hand, the beneficial bacteria, they were increased if you add Agnihotra ash. So that is quite interesting result. Now, one more thing, sodic soil and acidic soil, big problem all over the world. This experiment was done in some place between Unnao and that is between Lucknow and Kanpur, and they had very alkaline sodic soil, and they divided into 3 plots. One was with agrochemicals, one was organic with vermicompost, one was organic vermicompost with Agnihotra ash. And see, after 1 season, the pH in the plot with agrochemicals stayed same, 9.86. With vermicompost, it came down a little bit to 9.06. But with organic and Agnihotra ash, it came down by more than 2 points to 7.67, means nearly neutral. So on this soil, everything can grow. And it's not only about sodic soil, also acidic soil. There's a farm in Poland, and the pH was 4.4, very acidic. So the agricultural engineer told them, no, nothing will grow there. But they continued, they performed Agnihotra, they added Agnihotra ash, and see, everything grows there. All the vegetables, including tomatoes, nobody there is able to grow tomatoes, but they grow everything. And then they tested the soil, and also it had come up to around 7. And these are important findings, because we have more than 800 million of hectares of sodic soil, and sodic and saline soil, and approximately 180 million hectares of acidic soil worldwide. So if we could make these lands productive again, that would help a lot to increase agricultural production and feed a growing number of people. So I suggest to start such a project. The investment for such a trial is manageable, but the possible gain is huge, considering all the areas which could be made productive. So that was effects on environment. Now let's look at effects on plants itself and then in agriculture in general. You know, that is a simple experiment. Everybody can easily do it, you know, even on school level, it can be done, it has been done. You just take some plate, some tissue and water, and you add some seeds. And then each day you add water, normal water, tap water, and then Agnihotra ash water. But as we know, any ash has nutrients. It would not be fair to compare tap water with Agnihotra ash water. So what we do is we produce some ash, we call it control ash. We burn the same substance, cow dung, ghee, some rice, also in a copper vessel, but not the pyramid-shaped vessel, some other shaped vessel, but copper. And we don't use the mantras, and we don't do that at sunrise, sunset. So the chemical composition of control ash and Agnihotra ash probably is same, but still you see a big difference in the germination rate. Agnihotra ash is much better than control ash, and of course much better than the tap water. And that shows the result of plants growing in Agnihotra atmosphere. This was adding Agnihotra ash. Here it was in Agnihotra atmosphere, and you see that shoot length and root length are much higher in Agnihotra atmosphere. Later on in the series of lectures, there will be one lady, Mrs. Limaya from Pune, who has done extensive research in this field also. So that will be also very interesting. Now, effect on plants. Many diseases have been cured, and many pests have been controlled, and several scientific experiments have been done. For example, at the Horticulture Research Institute of Tamil Nadu Agricultural University in Ooty, they compared yield and quality of different flowers. The result was already shown by Dr. Selvamoorthy, and they compared also, and they show that there's higher yields and increased disease resistance. Here you see the slide. Then a lot of work was done at Agriculture University in Palampur, Himachal Pradesh. Agnihotra ash was compared with other organic fertilizer, and then they tested it on lemongrass and Tagetes minuta. And with Agnihotra ash, quantity increased, oil content increased, disease resistant also was higher. Then there was a very interesting series of experiments done at Agricultural University in Dharwad. A series of 4 MSc theses was prepared. And they studied 4 plants: tomatoes, cabbage, soybeans, okra. And the parameters they studied was yield, pest and diseases, and the quality nutrient content. And the yield, HOMA versus non-HOMA, you see in all the different parameters for all the 4 plants, there was a big increase in the increase with HOMA compared to non-HOMA. So that proves that if you go to organic HOMA farming, you will not have a loss in yield. Then they also controlled pests and diseases. Just 2 examples: tomatoes, leaf spot minus 37%, insect attack minus 40%, with cabbage similar. And here soybeans and okra also very similar results. Now about the nutrient content of plants, that is very important, because due to our pollution, there is a lack of nutrients in our food. So people, even if they have enough to eat, often they have deficiencies and then develop diseases because of this deficiency of nutrient contents. So, and also Ayurvedic doctors have told us that because of the pollution, the medical potency of plants is declining. So with Agnihotra, we can bring that back. One result was vanilla. It was grown and the vanillin content was 36% by weight. The lab which controlled that thought they had made a mistake because they never had measured such a high content. So they did the test a second time, but it was the same result. So that shows this oil content and nutrient content increases. Now again, these are a few results from the research done in Dharwad University. Just one example, soybeans, they had 5% increase in protein, 9.5 increase in oil content, and also increase in all the enzymes. Biodiversity, that is a big, really a big concern. And there was recently a study in Germany, and they showed that within 25 years, there was a reduction in insect population of 75%. That is really a catastrophe. So how can Agnihotra and Homatherapy help? Only two examples. One was invertebrates. That was done at the Narmada River. They tested the invertebrates at 2 stations upstream, 2 stations downstream of the homotherapy place. And you see in the middle, it is obvious there's much more of invertebrates to be found close to the homotherapy place. And number of butterflies, same picture. At the homotherapy place, you have much more. And here you see the photo of all the butterflies in that place. Bees also very important, very important. And in Homat atmosphere, Agnihotra atmosphere, these bees, they are happy and produce a lot of honey, by the way, also. And in other places, beekeepers have problems. Their hives, bees are dying. But here in Homa places, they thrive. Now, another subject, Agnihotra and the effect on our mind. Recent studies have shown that air pollution affects people's intelligence levels. It also affects our well-being, our minds. And then it will be more difficult to find inner peace and happiness. And how come that pollution, and especially pollution of the atmosphere, has such a profound effect on our minds, put so much pressure on the mind? So let us look at the relation between prana and mind. According to this Vedic knowledge, prana and mind are directly connected, like the two sides of the same coin. What affects prana immediately has an effect on your mind. And your mind also immediately has an effect on the flow of prana. So if now the flow of prana is reduced by a polluted atmosphere, that means atmosphere is polluted, prana flow is less, and the mind has some problem. Now, if we can purify the atmosphere, then automatically flow of prana is more harmonious and our mind is at peace. So this is exactly what happens when we perform Agnihotra. And that also, just you remember, Professor Selvarmurthy talked about EEG, yeah, the effect of Agnihotra on the brain waves. That can be explained in that way. Now, let us look at the science behind Agnihotra. Till now, we saw effects of Agnihotra, and these were scientifically studied, so that's well established. Effects on the environment, effects in agriculture. I just showed a few examples. There's much more, but because I got 40 minutes, so I have to keep it very brief. Now, the question is, how come? What are the underlying mechanisms? For example, I mentioned that Agnihotra ash increases the germination of seeds. And then the control ash does not. So what is the difference between Agnihotra ash and the control ash? There is some difference. We did some few studies. One was infrared absorption that was done by some Dr. Patil. He was principal at some college in Amalnya in Maharashtra. And you see the blue line is Agnihotra ash, the black line is control ash. And there are different peaks. So there is a difference if you look at the infrared absorption of Agnihotra ash and control ash. Then we did X-ray diffraction. That was done at IIT Madras in Chennai some time back. And it also showed some different peaks of Agnihotra ash and control ash. Still, that has to be interpreted and understood. You have to look into these peaks, what exactly does it mean? But that is interesting. It shows some difference. Then we did UV visible light spectroscopy that was done at the Institute SRIVT in Guntur by Dr. Shastri. And here you see a big difference between control ash and Agnihotra ash. These are in two totally different ranges. So that shows also some difference. And more such studies are on the way. And then let us look at more subtle effects, more subtle energies. We did one experiment. We took distilled water and filled 10 bottles with this distilled water. 5 of these bottles we kept in an Agnihotra room, and 5 were kept in the lab. But mind, there were no bacteria in the bottles. It was distilled water and, probably closed, so nothing could come inside. 5 bottles in Agnihotra room, 5 bottles in the lab. And after 5 days, we took the bottles from the Agnihotra room back to the lab, and we added 1 drop of E. coli to all the 10 bottles and looked at the development of the bacteria. And here you see the blue bars show the bacterial count of the water which was kept in the lab. So after 24 hours, you also have a total coliform forming count of 375. The water which was kept in Agnihotra atmosphere, nothing. And slowly, there was, a big increase for the water which was kept in the lab. And the water in Agnihotra atmosphere, even after 5 days, had less bacteria than the water in the lab after the first day. So there was some change in the water, which stopped the growth of bacteria. And that will be interesting to see what exactly changed in the water. It was the same water, and the chemistry was same. It was just H2O. Yeah, what kind of energy is there involved? Maybe some prana, some subtle energy, some prana. We do not know, but another experiment might help to understand. There was one experiment done a long time ago in Eastern Europe. We had one big glass container, like an aquarium, that was filled with water. And at one end of the basin, some light was installed. At the other end, light intensity was measured. And there were different interventions, and the results were noted. And the first was distilled water as control. Second was distilled water with bioenergetic water. You could say it's kind of prana healing, which they did. And the third was distilled water affected by Agnihotra. And you see the absorption was much higher in the water which was in Agnihotra atmosphere. But mind, no ash was put into the water. It was just the energy field of Agnihotra which had this effect. And maybe such a change on a subtle level, of magnetic and electric energies within the water could have the effect on reducing growth of bacteria. Another experiment was they tested magnetic permeability, similar experiment. Here you have a magnetic source. On the other side, you measure magnetic field, and with Agnihotra, you see the black line that is Agnihotra, that shows the highest absorption of magnetic field. And now, as electric and magnetic properties of water are relevant for many physiological processes in cells of plants, this experiment could explain why Agnihotra has such a profound effect on health of plants, of animals, of humans. So we have seen there's some subtle electric and magnetic effects of Agnihotra. Subtle in the sense of the strength is very low. So this I call subtle energies type 1, because the strength is very low, millivolts or even microvolts. And subtle energies, subtle energies of this type, they may be electromagnetic properties of cells, cell waters, and so on, light absorption, sound, subtle sounds produced in the Agnihotra process, not audible to the human ear, could also be. Then paramagnetic properties of soil, which are important for growth and health of plants. These paramagnetic properties are very, very weak, but still they have an effect. Then we also have subtle energies of type 2, which have a role in understanding Agnihotra. This type refers to energies not known yet. This is when we talk about prana, ki, chi, organ. These are all types of energies. They are mentioned in the literature, in Vedic knowledge, in some other books, but modern science, modern physics cannot yet measure. But still they are there. And we can also prove that they have to be there. Also, it's nothing mysterious about this type of subtle energies. We just have to accept we do not know everything yet. Like electricity existed long before scientists could measure. Yeah, before they could measure it, it was some unknown type of energy. After when they could measure it, it was known. Similar, it will be with prana energy and so on. In the moment we cannot measure, later on we will be able to measure. I hope soon. But at least we can show the effects. And that was done in one experiment which we did a couple of years ago. You know, we know that if you keep Agnihotra water next to Agnihotra without even adding Agnihotra ash, water will be purified. Then we close the bottle so that no fumes can get into the water. Still, water got purified. Then we thought, okay, it must be the energy field of Agnihotra which has an effect. Then question, what kind of energy? This is how we designed the experiment. We kept part of these bottles in a metal container. And you see the arrangement here. At the left side, you see, at the right side, you see some water bottles. And the left side, you see metal containers. The same water bottles, which you have here, were kept in the metal containers. So the water did not touch the metal. And we performed Agnihotra there for 5 days. And again, here you see the arrangement. And then we compared to the water bottles which were kept in the lab from the beginning. And there was an improvement in all the parameters which we checked, like STEO, pH, COD, hardness, and coliform. Most interesting is coliform because there was a reduction of coliform count of 68 to 70%. And it did not make a difference whether the bottles were kept outside or whether they were kept in these metal containers. And that is very interesting because that shows that the effect of Agnihotra cannot be shielded by a metal container, means that the energy field of Agnihotra must go beyond the electromagnetic range. So that was a very interesting result. Of course, we know that there must be something beyond the electromagnetic range, some kind of, let's call it prana energy, but we still do not know how to measure it. We just see some effect of it. So that is still a challenge for the science of physics. And that also shows that if we continue further. Okay, I finished the main part of my presentation. I thank you. I thank again the organizers for inviting me. I hope you could follow because I was talking rather fast because I wanted to show many things. And I just want to show you one thing very quickly, 2 minutes.
No problem, no problem.
No problem, thank you.
You can take more time also, that's not a problem.
Okay, oh, that's very generous, thanks. Yeah, about suggested future research. See, the question is, what are the underlying mechanisms for the improvements of the environment? You know, the microorganisms, beneficial microorganisms are supported, harmful microorganisms, they are controlled. Plant growth is improved, animals' health is improved, human health is improved. So how come? And now this Agnihotra, it is a combination of exact timings of sunrise and sunset, then the copper pyramid of specific time and size. The Agnihotra mantras means a specific vibration that makes a difference. And we have to find out how do all these factors come together. You know, the energy coming from the sun exactly at the time of sunrise and getting out at sunset. So measuring the more subtle vibrations of this energy. That would be one very important thing. Then the shape of the pyramid and the size of the pyramid. See, we are talking about mantras, we are talking about sound, we are talking about vibration. And there's a resonance effect. And this is similar to a music instrument. You know, if you have a sitar, it has a definite length of the strings. And similar to this Agnihotra pyramid, if you change the size, you wouldn't get the same result, because the sound is reflected on the 3 steps, which are also important of the pyramid. But these things have to be examined. There is a flickering vibration in the flame. Some Eastern European scientists have examined that, and they found that there is a correspondence between the flickering of the flame and the brain waves of the person performing Agnihotra. So that also showed that the person actually performing Agnihotra gets more effect than those who are only sitting around. So when we heard that, then we started that everybody, normally when we are 5 people, normally all 5 have their own pyramid and all 5 to their own fires, because the effect is best for the person who is actually performing, who's not just sitting next to it. Then the pyramid, the metal copper. Okay, correct. It could also be gold, but gold is for some obvious reasons, for most people, not an option. So we go for copper. And it is said that copper and gold have very similar qualities. So it's okay. The copper is okay. And some physicists told me that, and also Dr. Selvamuthi has said, it can't be iron, for example. It has to be copper, if not gold. And a physicist told me that the copper structure, the crystal structure of copper, resembles a pyramid shape. So that may have some internal resonance there. Then the mantras, the effect on plants, effect on cells, on the flame. We know that with mantras, you can increase the growth of plants. That has been demonstrated maybe 30 years ago. There was a book, The Secret Life of Plants. They did all kinds of experiments and also with mantras. So that increased the plants very much. Then we know that the sound, certain sounds, they trigger the production of amino acids because of some resonance effect. That was Sternheimer, a French scientist who did a lot of research on that. That could also explain some of the effects. And then, of course, these were some individual points, but then how do all these different things work together? Because Agnihotra, you know, it's not just you perform, you have the copper pyramid and the mantra and the kaurang and the ghee. All these things come together. And that is the interesting question. So there's some suggested research for chemical science, for life science, a lot of life science, and physics. Physics is very much important because I think only with physics, with chemistry, you can understand some of the effects of Agnihotra and measure. But in order to understand, I think chemistry will not be enough. A chemical analysis of Agnihotra ash, I think, will not explain how this Agnihotra ash works better as a nutrient than the control ash. So you need physics, probably some vibrational aspect. We do not know yet. So physics is very important. If we could show that the energy field of Agnihotra is going beyond the electromagnetic range, then we have to see what kind of energy is it. then measuring the negative ions in the air and explaining, how this affects bacterial growth and reduction in particulate matter, and also reduction in these chemicals, different kind of chemicals, NOx, SOx, but also other chemicals, which are even more harmful. By the way, Agnihotra does not kill anything. So if there are microbes in the air and you perform Agnihotra and the count goes down, it's not that Agnihotra is killing the microbes. It is just making it uncomfortable for them to multiply further. So Agnihotra is a very much ahimsa method. Nothing is killed. And that is important because we want to bring nature back to harmony. And if you don't like something and you kill it, that creates a different kind of disharmony. So that will also always create some new problems. What we have seen, what happens in modern agriculture. The sound in Agnihotra ash, that is very important. If we talk about sound, of course we know you have microphones, you can record the sound and so on, but there must be some more subtle sound, which is very strong. And in Vedic knowledge, it is said that the sound of mantras can be heard on other planets also. It sounds a little bit esoteric, but we have to see, is there some possibility of a sound which goes through vacuum? That would be interesting. And which also is not getting so much weaker if it goes for long distances. Anyway, sound is a very interesting aspect. I thought of doing an experiment of keeping Agnihotra pyramid but you can't do it in a vacuum. You have to surround it by some vacuum, and inside have another box where you have some atmosphere, because without atmosphere the fire will get extinguished. And then how to add the ghee and the rice, that is a little bit tricky. But if you do the mantras and there is some vacuum in between, whether it still works, that would be interesting. Anyway, there are a lot of different questions, a lot of research still to be done. And I hope at the end of this series of lectures, Professor Ravi Prakash Arya suggested that we have a session where we talk, all scientists who are interested to join hands, where we talk about future research. And I hope there will be some research project developed after this webinar, after this long conference, and that we can join hands and work together and work on some of these aspects. First part is always doing more experiments and finding out about the effects of Agnihotra. And the second step is then finding out about the underlying mechanisms. And I hope there will be a good group and we get some strong collaboration. So I'm looking forward to this discussion at the end of the conference. So now again, I want to thank the organizer. I want to thank all participants for listening to a pretty long talk. I hope it was not too much. And I hope we can work together in this field in future also. So thanks again, and
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ulrich Berg. No doubt it was a very lengthy talk, but it was very enlightening talk. And it gave us so many things to understand about Agnihotra, right from the vibrations of the mantras, Agnihotra ash, and the Agnihotra itself that is being done during the time of sunrise and sunset, and how this whole process is going to purify the environment, the human physiology, biology, and all these things, the count, the bacterial count. And in Vedas, Yajna or Agnihotra has been described as Adhvara. Adhvara means where there is no violence. And you very beautifully told that this Agnihotra is not going to kill the bacteria, but it is going to stop their multiplication. So it is a non-violent act according to the Vedas also. And through these researches, we came to know that this has always been a non-violent act, and this is a very constructive yajjo vai shreshtatamam karma. It says that this is the best action, this is the best positive or creative act that has been invented by Vedic seers, and now it is going to be applied in different fields by these eminent scientists, and they are going to bring out so many gems from their researches. And as Professor Shilva Murthy also, he just described everything from at every level regarding Agnihotra. So we are, I think we are very much thankful to both the scholars, distinguished scientists who gave a very enlightening talk. And today our third speaker, he was not able to join, but their time was best utilized by our learned speakers. And I think the proposals given by Dr. Ulrich Berg, that at the end of this event, we are going to hold discussions with all the speakers who have done researches in many fields, and we will find out the future course of action on this in this area, because so many things are still left, are to be done or are to be researched. No doubt a lot of research has been done, but still lot of things are required to be done. So I think this seminar or this conference will be an eye-opening conference, and it will help us to add new dimensions to the ongoing research on Agnihotra. So I thank both our learned speakers, and I hope they will remain with us all through these 5 days, because they have done a lot of work and they have understood Agnihotra in its real essence. As Dr. Ulrich Berg has also told, there are so many methods of doing Agnihotra, but particular methods have been applied for in getting particular results. So there is a need to verify all the methods of Agnihotra. And I think when we will carry out certain researches, we will add certain more things, certain more methods we will add, and we will find which method is going to give good results or which method is more beneficial. So one more dimension, one or two dimensions will also be added to that research work. And I'm really very much thankful, and I'm so glad that the first session itself has made, I have achieved, I think, the 90% success of the conference with these two learned speakers today. And I also thank all our learned participants who have joined this seminar from 5-7 countries, from South Africa, from Mauritius, from Trinidad and Tobago, from Suriname, from America, from Canada, from Guyana. So I'm going to thank all the scholars who patiently participated and heard these deliberations. So thanks a lot to everybody.
Dr. Arya, maybe
Yeah.
that some of these panelists are whom I see on the panel may like to make brief comment before you close today.
Yeah, yes.
Maybe that we can listen to them for maybe
You
a
are
couple of
invited.
minutes.
If you want to have any comment or want to ask certain questions, there's no problem. You can ask because we have a lot of time and we are not running short of time. So
Maybe
anybody
Miss-
can ask any
we'll start
question
with Miss
or
Annie.
can make comment.
Annie Canary, I think she has unmuted the mic.
Anne, he is calling you. Whether you
Dr.
have
Ravi Prakash, Dr. Radhakrishnan from Mauritius.
Yeah.
Hello.
Please.
Is
Ravi
Dr.
Prakash ji, can I?
Radhakrishnan from Mauritius, and you will be glad
Yes.
to know that he was awarded the second highest civilian award by the government of Mauritius.
Oh,
And he's an Ayurvedic scholar, Ayurvedic doctor.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Radhakrishnan,
Thank you very much. Yes, I just listened to Dr. Ulrich, and it was very mind-blowing presentation. I was not able to listen to William Selvamurthy. I was out, and I hope I will get it on your recorded version. Well, it's a very good thing that we have heard the very scientific approach by Dr. Ulrich. And one thing I have noted, I have not done research, but I'm noting, I have observed. You know, after I do nearly daily Agnihotra, and the ash that I have, I just kept the ash near my rose plant. And since 1 year, I was very amazed that the rose flower has been flowering throughout the year and is giving rose flower. I didn't understand why, because rose we don't get throughout the year in Mauritius. And I was very amazed. And I think, as Dr. Ulrich said, maybe the ash is having phosphorus and making the soil, making the gross content much better. And I think I must do research on that. And regarding the research is very interesting. One thing we can put forward regarding the effect of mantras on different part of our body and plants. This is a good research. And concerning a pran and mind, I think that when we do the mantra part and we do Agnihotra, the vapors are absorbed in the air in settled form, and they have a direct effect on our what we call autonomic nervous system, and they affect the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, thus creating more settled energy in the brainwave. And this is a room for research that we can do. And definitely, I'm sure that regarding Ayurveda, there is a much scope of using, why not to using this Agnihotra ash in the treatment of certain incurable diseases like cancer or Alzheimer or even diabetes. So we can use the ash based on different plants of Agnihotra. That's Amla, there's there's mango, there's Arjuna. All these different plants may be having different properties, the ash, and we can use this ash to make medicine and to further treat incurable diseases. Thank you very much, Dr. Ulrich. And also I thank Dr. William Selvamurthy, which unfortunately I was not able to listen, but I hope I have a recorded version. And we hope this session will go very nice. And we have full support in research to Professor Ravi Prakash Arya, and thank him again to organizing such a very wonderful seminar to enlighten everyone on the importance of this long-standing Vedic practice of Agnihotra. Thank you.
So anybody else who wants to comment or say something?
Yes, I think Dr. Indrani Ramprasad had her hand up.
Yeah. Indrani, if you want to speak, Dr. Indrani, you are welcome.
Okay, her hand is not up on anymore, so maybe she's gone.
Yeah. So, Ashwini Bhai, you would like to comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
we can
sorry,
hear you, Dr. Indrani.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Dr. Indrani from Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, you speak. You unmute yourself. There is some problem. We are not getting your voice.
It appears she is disconnected.
Oh, yeah, maybe. So, anybody else? Nandu Kumarji, you want to comment?
Yes, please unmute the mic.
But unmute yourself.
Thanks, Dr. Raviji. I am very interested about when Dr. Burke was talking about the participants who are in the Agnihotra, that they are deriving more benefits if you're a participant. And if you're a listener, you're not getting so much of the benefits. So my question was to Dr. Burke was about this sun, like the sun that you said, this electromagnetic sun, which could transgress into other planets because we don't know the frequency they're moving, the amplitude, how small, how big it is. We cannot measure it at that kind of distances. But when you're close by, I think as a participant, I think with the chanting and the mantras, I think it has an effect. They have been measuring, people with ECG probes in their brains in some of these settings in some studies. And where to find that for your peace and your harmony, they look at all your beta and gamma waves, all the other waves that go to your brains, and they find that it differs, your stress levels, your anxiety, it all goes down when you're around in the Agnihotra atmosphere. Because it took studies with people who participate and who do not participate. And they look at their brain waves and they measure that there was more peace with the participants. So I was very intrigued about the soil technology, also the plant technology that you mentioned, how it improves. And in Poland, the studies about how agriculture was being improved, or plants were being grown in areas where the Agnihotra were being performed, or using the ashes also to help. So those were remarkable findings, and I appreciate all the information. Thanks a lot.
I'd like to say something. This is Adarsh Deepak.
Okay.
If you are interested, I could help you. I'd like to work with you on taking the experiments into microgravity effects into space station. And that's what we have been looking at NASA, for instance, working. Even we are a private organization called Takshashila Institute in the USA. So I'll be glad to work with you, Dr. Burke, and other people in this area. Thank you.
So you are based in USA?
Yes, in Virginia.
You can give your phone number.
I have his contact information.
Okay, that's good. And
coordinate.
certainly we'll contact you. And we hope, Adarsh Deepakji, you are going to attend this session for all the 5 days.
Yes.
At the end of this session, we will be having some discussion for further course of research.
Absolutely.
Send a message.
But I hope I also have a newsletter that I sent out to 1,000 people. But if this recording could be made available.
It will be available. We have recorded it. We'll put it on YouTube also after doing certain editing.
Excellent.
Yeah. That's we are taking care. Dr. Shilvamurthy, you would like to say certain thing what Mr. Nandakumar commented?
In fact, in the presentation, perhaps you missed that I was addressing, but through our experiments, which was done on the physiological and the psychophysiological effects of Agnihotra, where we measured the electroencephalogram and looked at all the 4 bands which you have conventionally, the delta, theta, alpha, beta bands. And then what we found, in the compressed spectral array, you will find an increase in the amplitude of the alpha frequency between 8 to 13 hertz,
Oh,
which is an indicator of the mental tranquility. So this is one. Then we also found the appearance of theta waves. The amplitude goes up over there as well. And there is suppression of beta waves. So all these are indication that the Agnihotra practice makes a person tranquil. So then we also measure the galvanic skin resistance, GSR.
oh.
And there again, we find it was an increase in the GSR. Then the cardiovascular parameters, which indicate the like heart rate variability spectrum, which indicates the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic activity. So we found the shift towards the power shifting towards the lower frequency, indicating that the parasympathetic tone builds up over a period of time. And there is even in the practice of the Agnihotra, we found that there is a trend of the parasympathetic tone being built. So this is another important thing, the balance autonomic equilibrium shift towards the parasympathetic dominance. So these are some of the important things which we found in our physiological experiments. But what we found, it need not be the person only who practices. Even if the person is there in that environment,
Okay.
just close to that, even if he's not reciting the mantra, but that power, the energy, cosmic energy which comes to the environment, that gets radiated, and the body picks it up like an antenna.
Okay.
So like, for example, if you sit close to tube light,
Yeah.
your AC signals, the 50 hertz is picked up by our body. So
Yeah.
same way, the cosmic energy of a high intensity comes in, funnels into the pyramidal structure, radiates back to the environment. So even if the person is in the environment, the body picks it up. So this I found by a DC shift, because EEG signal is of the order of 10 to 200 microvolts, and the ECG in the order of millivolts. So when you look at this, as soon as you recite the mantra exactly at the sunrise or sunset, there is a tremendous DC shift. The needle just goes like this. And you do the EEG, ECG recording.
Yeah.
That shows the body is gaining that, harnessing that the energy, high level of cosmic energy. And that is why the DC shift. Then it stabilizes over a period of time, leading to tranquility manifestation. So perhaps Dr. Nandakumar was seeking that kind of answer from that.
Yeah.
Certainly, we'll be delighted to work with Dr. Adarsh. And we have in Amity University a strong space science and technology. And in the microgravity, how does the Agnihotra performance works, we can see that. What we are going to put from India, a payload from our Amity University, a microbe which can survive in the microgravity, as well as a callus of a plant, which will, how does the vegetable plant will grow there in microenvironment.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add the ash of our Agnihotra ash into that. So see, there is a control. So these two payloads we are putting, a callus of a plant, vegetable plant, and also the microbe. So this maybe that we can look at whether if the ISRO permits that we can add the ash, because the payload has been cleared for getting into space. There's a rigorous control on that.
Yeah.
So we will look at that whether we can add the ashes of Agnihotra.
So, Dr. Ulrich, you would like to say something?
I think Dr. Adarsh wanted to intervene.
No, I just want to mention we are working on a project called Ayurveda-led diagnostic telemedicine. And I'll send the paper to someone. Who should I send it to you? So anyway, there's something I want to mention. It's called Ayurveda-led. We want to use the word Ayurveda-led telemedicine, diagnostic telemedicine, so that anyone, a villager, can get access to diagnosis of his disease.
Dr. Adarsh, I will send you contact information for Dr. Ravi Prakash Arya, so you can send that paper.
Yeah. Then we'll transmit this information further to Professor Shelvamurthy.
Yes.
And
I would like to have it.
Yes, certainly.
Good, excellent.
And I see we have somebody raise their hand. Prabodh Kumar Nardev Vidalankar.
Yeah. If
Please,
you want to say
please
something,
unmute and go ahead.
Prabodhji.
Yeah, just so namaste to all the Gurujis. I speak from Durban, South Africa, Arya Samaj, South Africa.
Okay.
It is a pleasure to listen to both Dr. Ulrich and William G. Very enlightening. So just to let you know that in Durban, South Africa, we have what we call a Vedic Purohit Mandal that started somewhere in the 50s, ordaining Vedic priests, both male and female. Today, we probably have about 80 or 90 Vedic priests, but the majority are actually female priests. We have a 6-module, 3-year, 6-module theoretical program and training thereafter. So what we'll do is, Raviji, on behalf of our society, we probably will communicate with you in time to come and seek your permission that because our syllabus is by and large based on the 16 sanskaras, the study thereof, the mantra ucharan and that type of thing.
Yeah.
But hopefully in engaging with my own society, hopefully with your permission, we can introduce some part of your 5-day study. It's quite vast, I must say. It's quite intellectual, I must say. So हम आम आदमी के लिए भी कुछ it will be interesting for us and something we can learn. So
Yes.
thank you once again, Raviji, and thank you to all of you. Namaste.
No doubt we are going to publish these papers also in the book form so that everybody may be benefited by these things. And we are going to have all these proceedings on the YouTube in a audio visual form. So the people at large, they will be benefited by all these proceedings. So anybody else? Yeah, Dr. Ulrich. Yeah.
I, just one short remark, because Agnihotra is in 10 minutes, so I have to. Agnihotra will be in 10 minutes. I have to leave very soon. So first, of course, I want to thank again everybody. Also for this discussion, was quite nice to have some discussion afterwards. One remark, Dr. Silvamurthy, I never said that Agnihotra only works for the person who is performing. I just said the others get a little bit, he gets a little bit more out of it. And that is also our experience. So when I was traveling and I was with people and always one was performing in the group, and after 3 days I felt bad. I wanted to do it myself. So get a little bit more. And we did some experiment where people performed Agnihotra, and in next room they had in next room people were monitored for stress. And although they did not see Agnihotra, they didn't know about Agnihotra, still they got some effect. But of course, they would be in the same room better if each person performs himself, even better. This is what we did. One experiment in Karnataka. There were children in some orphanage, children with HIV. And so I went there and I suggested each child performs Agnihotra herself. And they get very good results. So in order to get the optimum, it is better you do it yourself.
Absolutely.
So that was all. So anyway, now I have to run. I don't want to miss Agnihotra. I never do. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll see during the next days again.
And we would be keenly looking forward to those action points. See, ultimately, where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the way ahead? What should be the next steps and plans and strategies to take it forward?
Yes.
But the application across the globe, so that we should discuss.
Okay. Yes.
So your points are very important. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Somebody from Sri Lanka was also willing to say certain thing.
Yeah, I think Lil Randeni was.
Hello.
If you want to,
I was I also having some experience in Agnihotra because in somewhere around 2007, Mr. Bruce Johnson visited Sri Lanka and did some demonstrations here. I couldn't practice it regularly, but intermittently I did it.
I experienced these bees are very much sensitive for this technique because I witnessed that colony of bees visited my home garden during the time I was practicing it, and at the same time there was a type of wild guava in my home garden. The size of that wild guava is not that much bigger when they are normally fruiting, but during the time I was practicing it for about 6 months time, that time the guavas were bigger. They fruited bigger, and sweetness is also very high. That was that I have observed. Yes, it has some effect on atmosphere and some taste and the size of the fruits in my home garden. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Dr. Ravi Prakash ji, I
Yeah.
think all of them have to document these even anecdotal experiences. They may not have done a control experiments,
Right.
but then even experiential learning, if properly
Yes.
documented, that also will become a very good repository of experience. So
Yeah,
I would request
yes, yes.
those people who may not have published a paper on that, but
Yeah,
certainly if they can make a repository and you send it to you.
yes,
And
yes.
these many days I have seen, and the account approximately of the order of twice, 2 times, 3 times it has
Yes,
increased.
yes.
So let them send these experiences. That also we will put besides the experimental learning, experiential learning is also very important.
Yes, yes. So we would request everybody who is doing Agnihotra and getting certain experiences, you can share those experiences with us, and we will give place to those experiences also in our book that is going to be published in after this
And if they have some photographs or some documentation, if it is available for supporting that,
documentation is required.
or geotagging, if they are able to do a little geotagging of those
Yes,
photographs,
yes,
that will be great.
Yes, possible. We will share those things. Yes.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks, Professor Shelvamurthy. He gave us a lot of time from East. He joined this session ahead of the seminar. Until the end, he remained with us. So we are very much thankful to
So I
him.
think Dr. Adarsh wants to make some
I
comment.
just want to mention, I just saw your, Dr. Selvamurthy, I just saw your advertisement behind your Amity University. We are
Yeah.
working in Mumbai,
Right.
Pandey, and so I'll be in touch on that. Okay.
Yeah, Siddharth Pandey. You know Siddharth
Yeah,
Pandey?
yes,
He's
Siddharth,
the
very
one.
well. Yep,
He's
he's
the
on my,
astrobiologist. He's the astrobiologist.
actually, yes.
The,
He
the
worked,
payload is actually going from Amity University, Mumbai. And so he is the architect of this experiment.
correct. Oh, I see. He is the one. Great.
Yes.
Because we brought him, my organization brought him to NASA, work at NASA Ames
Yes.
about 4 or 5 years ago before he went to get his PhD.
Right.
And so we are in touch with him.
And he has created a Mars analog station in Ladakh. We have created Amity Mars analog station so that you can create all terrain, environment, psychological stress like isolation, monotony, sensory deprivation. We have created a station, and he is playing an important role, pivotal role.
Actually, we are working with him regarding climate change program. There's another paper. I got 3 papers working with Dr. Kamrat, Narayanan Kamrat from Georgia Tech. He's the lead person, author.
Yes.
So we'll be glad to send you. Okay. Thank you.
Certainly. So thank you, Dr. Ravi Prakash, for this opportunity
Yes,
to meet this
thank you,
galaxy
sir.
of all luminaries. And
Yeah, thanks everybody. Everybody is so interested and from different parts of the world.
Thank
They
you.
gave their precious time to this very significant conference. So I thank everybody for their cooperation and making this conference a big success.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash.
Oh, Prasanna ji, how are you?
I was delighted to have all this knowledge and from the
Oh,
very, very
so you
expertise.
were attending from the beginning
people.
itself.
I came a little late because I was doing the sunrise today.
Okay. She's from USA. Prasanna Martha Alvarez. And
Thank you so much.
She is a devotee of Lord Krishna.
Yeah.
She recites Gita always.
And where you located?
She's from Reno. What place? Reno,
Carson City, Nevada.
Nevada.
Oh, not Nevada. Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
really
you.
amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
नमस्ते
नमस्ते सभी को
Namaste to everybody. Thanks for the lecture.